It's a nice day. Decided to go for a walk, get a little exercise in. But while I'm out here in the woods, I figured I'd tell y'all about my mushroom trip I had recently. It's very strong, very intense. I would even go as far as to say it was just as intense as my DMT trip, but felt like it lasted for hours. But let's get into it. So my last trip was on 2/2/22. I ate 3 grams at 11 o'clock. These shrooms must be very potent. I've been getting the same ones the past couple times, but they've been hitting hard, and I don't need extreme dosages to go far. I literally can eat a few. Maybe it's because I'm fasting, and if you saw my other video, I like to fast completely before I go on these journeys. But so I eat the mushrooms around 11:30, I think it was. Sat around for about 10 minutes. I'm like, you know what? Let me get in the shower so I feel fresh and clean for this trip. So I get in the shower, and I'm in the shower for about 10 minutes. I start feeling groovy and wavy. I knew the mushrooms was kicking in because I felt that kundalini energy in the spine. I feel that on all the psychedelics. I feel that kundalini energy just going up the spine, and I just feel like my whole body feels it. But I feel that feeling. The music starts sounding great while I'm in the shower. I'm singing. Feels healing as hell, you know what I mean? But I get out of the shower, and here's where the trip instantly picked up within 30 minutes. Usually my mushroom trips do kick in about 15 to 30 minutes after taking them in. When I make mushroom tea, it kicks in about 10 minutes. But it seems like the trip is shorter. Anyway, as soon as I leave the bathroom, it's almost like I didn't even recognize where I was, what house I was in. I started gaining like confusion out of nowhere. And this had happened to me before, It's like, as much as you think you could prepare for a trip, sometimes the trips bring very unexpected things. Anything can happen on a trip, basically. So even when you're prepared, you're not prepared. But yeah, I was very confused. I didn't know, I just started walking back and forth around the house. All right, let me go get a drink out of the fridge, sit down and relax, because when I go on these trips, I like to lay back in the dark and just close my eyes and go fully inward. But this trip was very visual outside too, not just inward. It wasn't just visionary. There were points where it felt like I was getting the Alice in Wonderland effect, where things were it felt like I was shrinking and the floor was getting bigger and wider. The TV was the refrigerator was getting huge. I went to grab some iced tea out the fridge, and I didn't even recognize what kitchen I was in. Like, it felt like I was in like a cartoonish kitchen. Everything started seeming very dreamlike. I went and grabbed the iced tea, sat down. As soon as I sat down, I spilled it because my body's like feeling that mushroom pull where it's pulling me down to the ground almost. Feels like it wants me to be grounded. So I feel that pull, and I spilled my iced tea and shit. I went to go grab a towel to wipe it up, and when I wiped it up, I got even more confused on where I was. I didn't even know who I was when I was wiping up the iced tea. It was like, what am I even doing? Like, I stood up, and I had such a period of time where it was like just straight confusion. Like, I really didn't know. I was just walking back and forth with the towel, like, where do I put this? Like, I was so confused. I do not know why. But when I finally was able to, get everything settled and sat down, I noticed the person, my roommate, was sitting there watching TV, and I'm looking at her and I'm like, damn, because I don't know if she knew I ate the shrooms. My bad, my camera just cut me right off. But so I sat next to my roommate and I'm looking at her and I'm picturing what it's like, how she's seeing the world at the very moment. And when I did that, it's almost like I was in her consciousness or something. Like I was her for a second, like I was seeing everything, but it was a sober mind, and it wasn't like my mind. Where as soon as like I was in her mind for like a couple seconds, and I switched back to my mind. This is real trippy shit. I switched back to my mind, and my world was dark and ominous, and you know, it just felt different. Every time I do mushrooms, it always seems like in the first hour you feel like a presence is now upon you, like, and it's there throughout the whole trip. I'm just looking at these squirrels, but it kind of seems like when I take psilocybin at night, lights really bother me. Like, I don't know if that's because I like to go in the journey in the like closing my eyes and laying back, or if because I like the night or whatever, but it just seems like lights really bother me. So I tried this at one point. I sat back because she had the TV on. I tried to cover my eyes like this and just lay back with my eyes closed, and I was completely seeing through my hand. Like, I even had to make sure, like, hold up. Did a whole fucking 360 looking around. And yeah, I was looking at the whole living room, covering my covering my eyes with my hand. It was very strange. Everything was like outlined in white, but it was like a dark gray vision. I don't know what to call it, but everything was dark, white. It was white outlined. I remember one point I couldn't like really tell if my eyes were open or closed because I was having crazy inside visuals and outside visuals, and it was almost like they were combining. I remember telling myself, like, damn, there's no boundaries here. Like, that's the only way of me describing it. It's like all the worlds in my head were colliding at once. Another thing on this trip, I felt like, I don't know if you know what the Akashic Records is, but it feels like I tap into that every now and then. I tap into that because it's like I ask myself questions, and every question I ask myself, I already have an answer coming right back to me. And it's like, you know all the answers already. You really know all the answers. Like, if I were to sit here and ask myself a question that, you know, that I don't think I have an answer for, I would just be thinking about it. When I would do that on the mushrooms, like halfway through the trip, I swear I was just asking myself anything, and all the answers was coming right to me. Man, I gotta record it next time if something like that happens, but it really feels like I'm tapping into this universal consciousness. At some points, it's like you forget. I forgot I was even a human. Like, I was so far out there in these worlds and inner dimensions and shit that I literally forgot I was human until I came back to the body, opened my eyes, like, oh shit, let me pack the bowl real quick. That was fucking wild. When I opened my eyes to smoke, right, I was seeing like a bluish mist all over the living room. It was like blue, and then some spots were orange. It was crazy, man. It was a wild trip. I remember one being I seen with my eyes closed. This was an eye closed visual. I remember seeing this one being. This almost felt like a DMT kind of being, because it was like made of that world, like that world of shapes and geometric fucking patterns and shit. It had like its face was like made out of mad blue shapes and fucking. I knew it looked like a clown with super sharp teeth. Now I heard people talk about their DMT stories and talk about jesters and all that and machine elves. This did not look like. This looked like it was trying to be intimidating. Like it looked like it had bad intentions, or maybe it didn't, or maybe it had good intentions. It just looked really scary. I don't know. But it had sharp ass teeth, and then he kept like looking at me and then open his mouth real wide. He'll go like this and look at me and open his mouth real wide. It's like every time I turned my head to try to look at something else, he would like stretch right in front of my view and do that. That happened. That was freaky. I remember that. See, I don't know. I'm intrigued by all of these things that happen on the mushroom. Some of it is just so unexplainable. Like, it sounds nuts to people who've never done psychedelics, but the ones I have, I know they get it. You know, you can't even explain these things.